Hi, this is Dr. Victoria Nalule, and here with me again is Ms. Ngo Pouhe, an expert from Cameroon. She's currently a PhD student at the Center for Energy, Petroleum, Mineral and Policy, and today our discussion will focus on the mining sector of Cameroon. But before we start, I'd like Ms. Ngo Pouhe to briefly introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Ngo Pouhe, PhD candidate at the Center of Petroleum and Mineral and Policy at the University of Dundee, and I'm working on business and human rights in mining sector in Central Africa. And I am happy, pleased to be hosted again by Victoria for this podcast.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So in our last discussion, we talked about the electricity sector, oil and gas sector of Cameroon. In this discussion, we'll want to focus on the mining sector of Cameroon. Could you please give us a brief overview of the sector?
Cameroon is a country with a huge mining potential, more than 50 different types of minerals, from gold, diamond, uranium, iron, and others. And the property is vested by the state, and everything is ruled by the Ministry of Mines, and alongside with some institutions like what we call the CAPAM in English is called the Small Scale Mining Support and Promotion Framework Unit, which is there to ensure the control and monitoring of the artisanal scale mining, and as well training and assistance of artisanal scale miners. And there is also a permanent national secretary for Kimberley process, because the country has integrated the Kimberley process for the valuation of diamonds and monitoring of diamonds activities.
Thank you very much for the overview. I'm really glad to hear that Cameroon has lots of mineral resources, and we know for the mining sector to be effective, or for the people to be able to benefit from the sector, we need competitive institutions, and also the laws should be effective. So could you please give us an overview of the legal framework governing the mining sector in Cameroon, and also give us your opinion whether these laws are effective in the country?
So in Cameroon, the mining sector is governed by a new mining law, because the country has implemented a project to be emergent, like for the emergence by 2035. So, and the mining sector was targeted as one of the key ones to implement a development in the country. So in 2016, a new mining code was implemented, and this new mining code is really is complete with local content, with new provisions for environmental issues, with penalties and criminal penalties as well. So this new law was I'm going to take a kind of innovation that will boost the sector. And under this new law, we have, for example, the country has launched a project with a national company, the first large-scale mining project. So I think under the new law, a lot of things will be done. And as well, we have some regulations, like the regulations on the export and import of diamonds to avoid frauds and everything that goes with diamond, and health and safety issues. So that's very good, isn't it?
Thank you very much for that. And I also note, in different African countries, they've been moving towards okay, let me repeat this. Thank you very much for that. And I also note that in different African countries, they've been moving towards amending their laws, because in the past, for mining laws, we have 3 generations of laws. We have the first generation, and here, due to the fact that we're under colonialism, most of the laws were not favoring African countries, and we had instances where the state practically had no control over its resources. The resources were mostly benefiting investors. And then we saw the second generation of mining laws in African countries, where now the state is trying to be a little bit involved in the sector, but still you look at instances of taxation where most companies were not taxed, or the taxes they were giving, they were not efficient, they were not effective to ensure that the people benefit from the resources. And then we had the instance of the third generation of mining laws in African countries, where now countries were a bit aggressive. They're moving towards nationalization. They're like, these are our resources. You've been exploiting the resources for a very long time, but our people are still poor. And now we are looking at the fourth generation of mining laws, where now most African countries are considering issues to do with local content, as you mentioned, also issues to do with social license to operate, because now like there's a lot of pressure from people, local people on the ground, saying we are in mining communities, but we don't have good infrastructure. There are no roads, the hospitals are not good. Myself, I've been to several mining sites in Uganda. I've also been in Tanzania, in Ghana, and you see, like in most communities where the resources are mined, where the minerals are being mined from, they're not developed. So with the new amendments and new legislations in the mining sector, we're seeing a move towards ensuring that the local people do actually benefit from these resources. So I'm really pleased by the laws in Cameroon, and I hope they are effective to ensure that the local people benefit. But now moving forward, I would like us to focus on the challenges in the mining sector of Cameroon. What are the challenges and opportunities in the sector for the people of Cameroon?
Exactly as you mentioned, is we have the laws, but sometimes it's difficult to implement, like the environmental laws and the local content laws. But the government is doing the best to implement it. Like I will take the example of land restoration. In many mining site in Cameroon, because there were problem with monitoring and control. Now that the government is pushing like way forward, it's difficult to see like places where there is land restoration. In a lot of places have problem of health and safety, workers' health, workers' safety. So now there is a big challenge is to implement the laws, the disposition of the new law. Another challenge is to attract investors, but what the government is also doing, because since last year, I think the end of last year, the government has signed, or the beginning of this year, signed 2 projects with an international junior company and national companies. So I think those are both the huge challenges in this sector.
Thank you very much for that, Stefan. I've liked the issue of lack of implementation, because it's an issue that is being experienced in different African countries. I should note that I have a book on mining and the law in Africa, where I explore the social and the environmental impacts of mining in African countries. And I'll give an example of Liberia and Sierra Leone, because right now they are facing issues with land rehabilitation. Most of the mines have been abandoned, or in some cases the investors, mining companies, after exploiting all the resources, they leave the mine without closing them. So they're facing issues of mining closure, they're facing issues of land rehabilitation, restoration, and that's one challenge I'm sure that Cameroon is facing, because also Uganda were expressing the same thing, where like lots and lots of mines have been abandoned, and the local people have been left in a lot of danger, especially people in rural areas. So the people are in danger, their animals are in danger, and also they can no longer use the land for other important issues like agriculture. Now, moving forward, what do you think should be the way forward to tackle some of the challenges you've mentioned in Cameroon? What can they do to tackle the issues you've addressed with respect to the mining sector?
Actually, the government has started to work to push way forward. Under the new mining code, there is a provision about a kind of fund that has to be created for every contract to for the rehabilitation of lands, and I think is a good disposition. Now the problem is that we need more people to be trained to go on the sites and maybe train the local workers or monitor like those projects, because sometimes people working for those ministries, agencies, they don't have all the the training, all the skills to monitor, to control everything that has been done, who has been doing on those sites. So I think we need more training. That's why I will talk about local content. That is important to focus on this issue and then develop a policy to develop capacity building, to develop companies, local companies, and to promote like national people labor. And I think this is what I will give as advice, yes, to push the way forward.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Ngo Pouhe. I totally agree. Like, we really need to promote local content in the mining sector to ensure that the local people benefit, and also to adjust our investment laws to be able to attract the needed investments in the mining sector, because these are capital intensive projects. So we need to make sure that our laws are good, our institutions are good, so that we attract the needed investments. But however, that should not be at the detriment of the local people. At the same time, we can attract investors, but we also have to make sure that these laws are favorable to the governments themselves. That's the end of our video. Thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions with respect to the mining sector of Cameroon, please do not hesitate to contact Stephane Ngo Pouhe, because she is the expert, and as she has already told you, she's currently a PhD candidate at the Center for Energy, Petroleum, Mineral and Policy at the University of Dundee. I'll be sharing with you her contact details. So feel free, contact her if you have any questions with respect to oil, gas, mining, and the energy sector entirely in Cameroon and Central Africa. And thank you very much, our viewers. Ms. Stephane, thank you very much. It was lovely having you again.
Thank you.
Our viewers, do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Victoria Nalule. I'll be bringing you more experts from different African countries, and we shall be discussing issues with respect to oil, gas, mining in Africa. Stay tuned.